How's it going? I'm Josiah.
I'm Chanel.
And welcome to the Coco Jo Show, where we have no idea what we're doing, but we're doing it anyways.
Yes, we are.
Welcome to our first ever video podcast. If you are not watching via video, that's completely okay. Thank you for still listening, and thank you for not watching video, because we're very nervous in front of this video.
This is the second time we've done a video together, and it's super obvious by everything we're doing right now.
By when do we look at the camera? When do we not look at the camera? Do I acknowledge
how
this
do we hold our
small,
hand?
tiny hand that's in front of us?
I
will.
I don't think I'm going to realize the impact of this until I see the video.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I'm going to be like...
It's fantastic.
Oh.
So for those of you who are listening, you're not getting the visual of this amazing thing, but what is sitting in between us currently is a tiny, small rubber hand holding our mic. And I named this hand Mike because Mike is a hand mic stand.
This is so bad. This is so bad.
Pretty dang proud of that.
Josiah came up to me earlier and he was like, what did you say? You said, I have a really good idea. Please let it happen. Or something like that. I was like, what is your idea?
I was like, so we need to hold the mic somehow. If we're going to be doing a video, we can't clip it to the blanket on our couch like we've been doing. And I think Mike here would love to hold our mic.
I was like, wow.
So here we are. This week, we are going to be talking about how we have no idea how to work together. It's going to be pretty good. It's going to be a good topic. It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. It has been a journey.
The Coco Jo Show.
Okay. So, working together. It's been the journey. We have been together for 6 years, 6.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Married for 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Something doesn't feel right about that. I don't know, one or the other. But we've been we've been together for a while, and we've wanted to work together ever since we were dating.
Yeah.
We both like to work, and we both like to kind of go after things, and so we started introducing that in our dating life. And then more so when we were engaged as well, more with weddings and doing stuff with my business. Yeah. And so we've been working together for a while, but I think we really like it. I think that's the most important thing to say for this is that we really like it. Yeah,
we like it now. I don't think we liked it necessarily when we first started.
I thought you were going to we like it now, but in a year,
see.
Bye.
No, I think when we first started out, it was pretty rough.
It was so bad. So bad.
Yeah, we first started working together by shooting weddings together. So Chanel had she was like, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be a wedding photographer. Mm-hmm. And that's what high school Chanel really wanted to do. And so we booked her first wedding. Yeah. Well, she kind of booked it. She met someone at school. They were like, hey, I need a wedding photographer. Mm-hmm. And Chanel's like, I'm a wedding photographer. I can do that. And so first wedding. And then she was like, hey, would you want to come shoot with me as well? And I was like, sure, I'll come and shoot. I'll be your second shooter for the day. That way we can both cover it. So I was kind of there at the inception of Chanel Marlene photography, wedding photography.
For weddings, And we did okay that day.
Yeah, we did pretty good that day.
We had a bigger issue that day.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later in another podcast.
Yeah.
The first wedding I ever did, essentially, there was another photographer also shooting the wedding. Whether or not it was on purpose is very much in the dark, but...
she did kind of hijack the day.
She kind of hijacked the day, and so she was definitely overstepping, in so many ways. And Josiah and I kind of had to have this united front to kind of take on that challenge. And I think even that moment we were like, okay, we can do hard stuff together. Yeah. And then every wedding after that, there was totally a fight on the way to or from each wedding we shot together.
Or during.
Oh no.
Yeah. We don't have to go into all the crazy details.
It was definitely during sometimes.
We definitely fight on wedding days.
I'm so sorry.
Pretty consistently.
No, not anymore.
Not anymore. We did used to fight on wedding days pretty consistently. But now, now we kind of have we have sort of a flow, and I think the biggest thing is because we both have creative control.
Well, first, we like it.
Yeah.
I think that before we go into, like, our strengths and our weaknesses, it's good to, like, mention that we actually like working together.
Yeah, that's true.
So some couples that are watching, or some people that are watching, that you're like, oh, I want to work with my spouse. I want to work with so-and-so. Like, totally. But, like, does it work for you as a couple? I think is a really important question to ask. Yeah. It works for us, but it took a long time of it not working. But we know we wanted to, and I think that was what was important. Yeah. So we enjoy it, and we just, like, had to learn what some of our, like, struggles and our weaknesses were for a couple years, honestly, until now. And so now we have, like, a lot of challenges in working together. Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to move this. If you see the video, if you saw Josiah, his eye contact literally went like...
Just leave it. Those of you who are not watching the video, we're going to get way better at this. I'm sorry. I put coasters on the table in front of us to mark where we should put our drinks so that they're not in a distracting place. And Chanel just picked up her coaster.
And Josiah literally
went... And I looked at it and I was like, oh my God.
I need to move the things that are in front of my hand.
Just hold your coffee.
I'm trying.
We love working together. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of learning till we get comfortable with all facets of it. And we're still learning.
Still learning. Growing.
Yeah. And working together, I think we might talk a lot about wedding days and, like, shoot days and things like that, just to give a little bit more context, because that's kind of the easiest thing for people to understand. But then we also, working together is idea generation and doing all the back end work of a business and all of the nitty gritty stuff like taxes, yay taxes, and all of that stuff. So there is a big piece of working together that involves that. So before we jump into let's work together, hey husband or hey wife or hey boyfriend or girlfriend, like, think about all that goes into that, because you don't want to just be offloading all of the lame work to the other person or vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's really important to find, like, what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and do they balance one another. So, like, for Josiah and I, we both like to, like, spearhead a lot of things, but if we spearhead the same thing, like, obviously, like, there would be, like, conflict and issues. And so I think it's really good that your strengths and your weaknesses balance each other, and you are aware of what they are, so that it has language to it when conflict comes, because it'll come no matter what, no matter how good you are working together. Right. So I think that that's important. So yeah,
definitely. So we should just jump into strengths and weaknesses.
Strengths, weaknesses / challenges, and what are we still, like, learning and figuring out.
For sure. I would say we can start with strengths. Started off on a good note. Strengths. I think that we're really good at collaborating. I think we're really good at, like, brainstorming and idea generation. Yes. I think we're really good with that.
Oh, you know how this is probably going to work? We'll probably say a strength, but. This is what didn't work out.
And this is how we got here.
So yes, we are really good at collaborating, but. Yeah.
I don't think there's a first comma.
We're really good at working together, but that flowed. It has to be at the right time.
Yes.
So when I wake up, my brain is, like, already in work day. It's already, like, what I'm behind in. Yeah. I'm in, like, idea generation mode as soon as I wake up. And I would offload that onto Josiah, and he was like, stop. And so we're really good at collaborating, but it has to be, like, literally scheduled. From Tuesday, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., we will talk this. Or on Friday, from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., we will go to a coffee shop. R.I.P. going to coffee shops. But we will go to a coffee shop and talk about this. That is when we're really good at it.
Yeah, so we kind of set meetings for our collaboration process. Yeah. And for most of the time, that's how we need to work. Because if we don't, then we get frustrated. We get in a little argument. Argument turns to a fight. Then we don't get any work done for the day because we're too busy fighting. And so when we do set a time, though, we both know, hey, we're prepared for talking together and idea generation.
And everything else gets, like, put on hold. Because, like, another thing that's not good for collaborating is, like, for me, I collaborate, like, here's an idea, and here's a thought that I had, and here's something that supported that, and here's this. And for Josiah, you kind of understand collaborating as, like, I'm in this thought, in this space of mind, and nothing else can really interrupt that right now. Also meaning if I'm in something else, that can't be interrupted.
Right.
And if I'm working on something, I have to be so focused. So anything that's outside of that is not important. And so I have to be really aware of just respecting that.
For those of you guys listening, if you're familiar with like flow state, I really value flow state. It's this whole idea and concept that basically being hyper productive in one thing and just like Chanel reached for the coaster again.
No, you know what's not funny? Here's what's not funny. Me touching the coaster, it's your beeline gaze to something moving on the table.
So anyways, flow state. So I really value flow state, and you guys should look it up. There's a book on it. I can't remember what the book's called because I didn't think about this before we started recording. But yeah, it's called Flow State. So that is something that I really value. So when I'm working on something, if I'm editing, if I'm getting set up for the podcast, if I'm doing whatever, I want to just be able to focus on that and give my 100% energy to it. So that's kind of why it's hard for me when I get interrupted or have like another thought sort of intrude where I'm at, because I'm not prepared for it, and it also disrupts my flow of what I'm currently working on and doing. So that's kind of, I think, some insight into what goes on in my head.
Is that an Enneagram 3 thing?
No, it's not really. I think it has, I think Enneagram 3's value flow state more maybe than some other. But flow state is definitely accessible to everybody.
That is super insightful.
Yes.
Bravo.
Yeah.
I feel like we need stars to hand out to each other. Like, that was amazing.
That was great.
That's a really good point. Yeah, they value it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can be really productive when you're just focusing on the one thing and just like giving it 100%. So, but yeah, I think that's why scheduled meetings, I can then flow state on whatever it is that we're talking about and just do that for an extended period of time, for however long we've decided. So
I don't think I really flow state personally. I think I will work and then I'll get up and then I'll make a snack and then I'll maybe go for a walk and I come back and I work and then I watch an episode of something and then I work and then like I'm very much all over the place. And so that was like both of us, Josiah having to communicate kindly, hey, now's not the best time, and me having to respect his space and his time and the way that he processes and thinks through things. So I think that was pretty important too. So collaboration.
I think we're pretty successful at collaborating, and we both have different strengths with that. Chanel's really good at creating ideas from nothing and just sort of like getting the ball rolling on different ideas. And I'm really good at fleshing those out into, from point A to point B, how do we get there?
Like steps,
and creating steps and creating practicals and creating like, okay, well, if we do want to start doing a podcast, this is what goes into that. Yeah. And this is how we need to do it, and this is how we can be successful in it. Yeah. Would I be able to think of a podcast just out of nowhere? Probably not. Yeah. But that's what I rely on Chanel for. So we've kind of understood that the more that we've grown together and the more we've worked together. Chanel's really good at idea generation, and I'm really good at structure and creating structure behind things.
For sure. For sure. I think that's totally true. And I think it took a while for us to realize those strengths. And we still like, you have great ideas and I can create structure for stuff, but like more so that's our strengths individually, and giving language to that like super helped, especially with just being freelance and like trying to think of new projects to do, new things that we want to go after. So I think that's great.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
It took a long time though to get that.
It did. And I think a lot of times too, you'd be looking to me for new ideas and I just freeze up. I just don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
like,
that's
what
something
about
that
one thing? And I'm like, my brain doesn't work that way. And that's okay. And like, I think we've learned that that's okay for me to be better at creating structure than idea generation. Yeah. And then when that does happen naturally, like when an idea does come to mind, then, just acknowledging that and like recognizing that, I think. But
yeah, I think that that's really good. I think that something we're definitely learning right now is not to depend on the other person for the direction we're going in. It's like literally when it comes to like work, when it comes to like the rest of our life and like our marriage and our health, and like there's certain things that Josiah will lead in more and there's certain things that I will lead in more, but when it comes to work, like I would say it's pretty balanced. And then the only, like I would say one of the only challenges we're experiencing like real time is depending on each other too much for like, okay, you're gonna lead the whole work thing. When you think of something, let me know.
Right.
And like we've been doing that to each other, which creates just like this like tension that we're not meeting like the standard expectation we're supposed to be at for ourselves. And so so that yes, we have to kind of like work through that sometimes, but especially during the quarantine and lockdown situation, like we have been doing that a little bit more often, and that's not so healthy because whatever,
because we're both kind of, I mean, we're sort of coming out of the slump, but we were both really struggling with motivation, and so we were like leaning on the other person
to
give us that motivation and get us out of it. But when the other person is struggling with that too, it's like this, it's this hard, it's this catch-22 where you like neither of you can really pull each other out of that spot, you know.
Which is a good reminder that we can't depend on each other for everything.
It's true. That's me giving a star to you.
Oh. Okay.
Oh man, what about some challenges? What have been some like major challenges?
Can I see what we wrote on the list?
Yeah.
On the long list. Challenges. Okay. I'm trying to think. Okay. There's a couple things in there. Some of our challenges is our work paces, which we kind of already talked about. My work pace is very casual and laid back and relaxed, and as I feel it, and Josiah is like, when he's committed, like he's in it, and it's hard to get him out of it. So that, I would say one of our biggest challenges in learning how to work together, it's gotten a lot better, but was a lack of respect for one another in their lane. And so that's why we would fight so much when we started doing weddings together, was because we each need a place of ownership in whatever we're doing together. So for this podcast, for example, or for Coco Jo, Josiah, we gave him the role of the podcast editor, video editor, and we gave myself the role of like social media content-y type stuff. But we both generate the ideas.
Right.
And so when we started working together, we didn't do that. We didn't define roles. We didn't define what our like lane was, and so we were bumping into each other constantly, including a lack of respect, which just led to blow-ups. And so that's definitely been a challenge, and that changes and looks different with every situation.
For sure.
And so so even today, like when we do different stuff and work on stuff together, if we don't define like those roles for one another, or like the expectations that we're committing to individually for ourselves, then inevitably you'll bump heads, and then there's tension, and then you argue, and then it goes into something bigger. And then
and it's good to like give responsibility to both people. And not just have one person doing everything at a certain time. So to use the example again of setting up today, setting up for recording our podcast and recording this video, because I know about video and the audio stuff, I'm setting up all the equipment. Chanel is taking a little selfie video of us for social media, and then also writing down some topic ideas for us during recording. So that's kind of a way that we're collaborating. We're both working towards the same goal, but we both have very clearly defined roles within that. So
and I think it's hard. Like another thing that we don't really do is define each other's role very often. Like so, like I'll ask you. And this goes for business too, like for photography or supporting me with growing in that way. Like, what do you feel comfortable taking on? And Josiah said, I feel comfortable taking on all the logistics of the business backside of stuff, all the like taxes, accounting, like contract stuff, like all the logistics, and you take care of this. And so I think that's a big thing, is not deciding what the other person's gonna do, and letting you kind of have your own voice for what you're comfortable committing to, and what you want to do and what you enjoy to do. And I would have to respect that. So that's like where that respect comes into play, and that's really important.
And I think we're in a good spot because we both enjoy different aspects of doing business. So that's really good. I think that that's not really necessarily something that we've developed or anything. It's just something we've realized is, oh, I do like the structure. Chanel likes the idea generation. You know, she likes that customer interaction and being able to talk with clients and create that relationship. I also like doing all the back end stuff and keeping things organized. And so those are some things that we've sort of just realized over time.
Yeah.
And that's also a good indicator that we can work well together.
Yeah.
You know, because if we both wanted just to do the client interaction and neither of us were very organized or wanted to do that, we wouldn't be able to run quite as...
No, totally. Which is okay. Then we just don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's okay to realize that maybe when you're in it and you're like, wait, this does not really work. You know, our dynamic is not really successful. And there's times when you might make that realization and it's okay. How do we pivot? How do we compromise? How do we grow? And it's good to sort of have those conversations and collaborate. But yeah, I think that's been like really cool that we've just been able to do that naturally, is kind of find those strengths and then see how they fit together really well.
Yeah, I think that's been good.
Yeah. What are we still learning?
Wait, do we have any other strengths or challenges?
Not that it was on the list, but unless you had anything else on your mind.
Can you think of anything else? Oh, a strength is providing a safe place for vulnerability and for like real communication.
Yeah.
I think that's been huge. That's something specifically we've learned over the last few months.
Yeah.
Because we work together, but we also are married, but we're also friends, but we also lead things at the same time, but we also, like, we just have, like, a lot of things we can be doing. But, like, first and foremost, like, you're my husband. You're not my co-business owner or whatever. Like, you're not. Like, you're first and foremost my husband. And so it's super important to just allow, like, that place of conversation, of real vulnerability, of I'm really struggling with this. I feel insecure about this. And, like, listening to that.
Right.
So vulnerability and listening has to be, like, such a huge priority, because there's been so many things over these last 2 months that have been so hard for us. For me, just not knowing what direction to go to and how to handle that, and what does this mean now, and for you, like, being in isolation and having so many things canceled. But if, like, those conversations never happened, like, we can't build trust with one another in our marriage and in our work life, because we don't know what's going on with the other person. So I think that's been a little messy too over the last couple of months, because the impact was just so heavy with the quarantine happening. But I think that's been really important.
Yeah, for sure. I think creating vulnerability, and that's not just business, that's for sure just in relationships.
Totally.
And I think protecting that is really important. And I think one of the ways that we do sort of protect that and have, like, business hats versus marriage hats versus friend hats in our relationship is through setting those scheduled times to talk about things. Is because when we go into a meeting about the business, we know that we're talking about it as a business, and we're not really seeing it as, oh wait, you're personally attacking me when you say that that's not a great idea, and like how could you do that? So being able to set those times to talk about it kind of helps create a little bit more separation between marriage and business and that sort of whole merging of the worlds thing. So
do you know anything also helps? I think Sabbath helps.
Oh, for sure.
Because Sabbath allows you to just relax and, like, rest in all the problems that you're having, basically. And no matter what they are or how big they are. Yeah. And, like, I've talked about Sabbath before, and, like, Sabbath is not, like, a date day, and it's not a time for us. It's a time to connect with the Lord and to rest and to really just refresh ourselves after work and before work. And so that kind of allows maybe some of those, like, insecurities, doubts, fears, vulnerability things to settle, and then we invite each other into those conversations and have that in mind when we work together. For sure. Just to be respectful of what they're going through, and I think that's worked out really well.
And that's kind of created the vulnerability space. Yeah. I think Sabbath days, we kind of, at least I see that sort of as our vulnerable days. Yeah. Days where it's like there's nothing else on the agenda, we're not talking about anything else, we're just talking about how we are doing, how our souls are doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know, our relationship, and it's conversation just naturally goes towards that. So yeah, it's kind of creating that margin,
Totally.
especially consistently.
Totally.
Creating that margin in your life is really important.
So important. So that's been really healthy for us to maintain that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Current challenges that we're in right now.
Yeah, current challenges we're in right now. I would say the biggest one, I think, really has been not leaning on each other for our motivation.
Yeah. That's been, that's like something we're definitely in the thick of right now. To where like some days I'm like, Josiah, like, what am I supposed to do with this? And you're like, I don't know. And I'm like, but like, go ahead and start it. And you're like, no. There's just been like a lot of like dependency on one another for what are we supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to get out of this? How are we supposed to move on? How are we supposed to start over?
Yeah.
And like, I think we both had the realization that we can't, and we just have to wait.
Yeah.
And we just have to be supportive of one another and just wait, because there's nothing we can do right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
What do you think?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we've learned and we've grown so much since we started working together. And we have so much more to learn and grow in.
Do you think we'll always work together?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at least in some capacity.
Yeah.
Maybe not as involved as we currently are.
Yeah.
With doing like everything together.
Yeah.
But I think that there'll always be some facet of us wanting to work together.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because we enjoy it. It's something that we like to do.
It's a lot of
something
fun.
that we have worked towards and enjoy doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know I think we would just do like new projects and
Probably.
new like things in the future, like late future.
Yeah.
But I think we'll probably always find a way of working together
Yeah.
one way or another, and that's pretty fun to look forward to. I mean, a lot more to learn,
Yeah.
a lot more things to disagree on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's been fun. It's been good.
Yeah, that's kind of been our journey with working together and stuff that we're kind of still currently working on. And we hope that this gives a little bit of insight into our relationship, working relationship, and some of the challenges and things that we've learned. And we just hope to continue to give a lot more content about it. We want to continue to provide vulnerable, honest content for you guys.
Yeah.
And just totally let it all out.
Totally.
Yeah.
If you're like listening and you're like, hey, I kind of wanted to work with my boyfriend. Hey, I kind of want to work with my wife or husband. Or I kind of want to work with like my really close friend. Like, it doesn't have to be like a marriage. But if like you're thinking about that and it's like it's kind of struggling, but you have like a follow-up question, like seriously, like message us. Some of you guys message us and text us. And some of you guys DM us like questions, follow up on the podcast, and like we love getting those because we can respond, and like that's the whole point of this, is to offer like our mistakes as help and offer our things that we've learned to just like encourage people and to encourage freelancers and couples and whatever. So feel free to ask, because I mean, it's been 6-ish years of having no idea how to work together. But we have learned some things.
We have learned some things.
Yes, we have.
We want to pass on the knowledge.
Yes, the very little we have.
Very little we have.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you joining us on the Coco and Jo Show, where we have no idea what we're doing, but we're doing it anyways. I'm Josiah.
I'm Chanel.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
And subscribe to our channel.
Yes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Coco and Jo.
I never thought I would say that. I never thought I would say that. It's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. Yeah.
I never, ever, ever thought I would say that. But
here we are.
Subscribe if you want to. You don't have to. Yeah. But we'll be putting these out a little bit more frequently. So
awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm Josiah.
I'm Chanel.
This is Coco and Jo Show.
We already did our outro.
And that's another outro.